video game music. So there's this advertisement on the highway the other day, and it was for this thing called Video Games Live. I'd only heard about it because back in the day I bought a Castlevania track from the album, and I liked it a lot, but it was the only thing I really knew about it. I didn't know it was like a concert you could actually go to, which I guess makes sense though since the name is Live. But I wanted to make this video because honestly, I was expecting to be a little bit different. And what I mean by that is, on the ads, for example, it talked about, Final Fantasy, Castlevania, these type of franchises. But what I really got was an interesting mix of a lot of different video game series. So this is for anybody that's going to go to the concert. This is what you're basically going to be seeing. I'm going to give you the track list. I'll put it in the comments as well, just so you have it and so you know what to expect if you actually want to go. So the way it was formatted was basically you'd play a song, and then there'd be a little small skit in between. And the skit might be on like the video screen itself, or there might be actually someone on stage, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The concert kind of follows this oldest video games first, newest video games last type of thing. Though not entirely. I mean, in the beginning, it is very much retro arcade focused. So there's a lot of those classes kind of on a montage that you can watch. That's fun and all. It really is. But the thing that I found interesting about it was that a lot of these games where maybe the audience hadn't even played them before. There's a lot of young people in the audience. And again, I'm going to talk about how old these games are again later. But this is the track list that I was able to remember of all the games that I saw. So first there was all those retro game classics. Then there was Okami, Mass Effect, the original God of War series, not the newer one, Metal Gear Solid, Overwatch, Warcraft, Skyrim, The Last of Us, Uncharted, Halo, Kingdom Hearts, Shadow of the Colossus, Undertale, Castlevania, Tetris, and randomly at the very end, Final Fantasy VIII. Now, I don't want this video to be a downer on the concert because I really did enjoy it. The only thing was, it was a little bit less than what I expected. And that maybe not have been the best thing. But I want to focus on the praises first of the concert because I feel like it's going to help you understand what's going on. So, the first praise I want to do is, most of the music was great. There's a live orchestra there with a live choir and, a conductor, and they're playing all of this music from all these games. So everything sounds just
nice.
Especially Liberty Fatale from Final Fantasy VIII. I was very surprised to hear this as the only Final Fantasy song played. But it was a very welcome surprise, and I'm glad they played it instead of just something from Final Fantasy VII. Though I do love Final Fantasy VII's music, Liberty Fatale is just awesome with a live choir. I really liked that funny intermediate skits they had in between. Sometimes it would be like a funny video of two different franchises kind of crossing paths. Like there was one with Donkey Kong and Mortal Kombat. And then I really enjoyed Solid Snake being part of the presentation. And not just in a funny skit, there is one where the main person that basically organizes this entire thing, he goes into a box and goes slowly across the stage, and it's really, really funny. But actually Solid Snake, at least the main voice actor, he recorded special lines for this concert. So he says, welcome, and he kind of just introduces certain parts and segments, which I thought was really cool. And then there was this costume contest. So I don't know if this happens with every Video Game Live presentation, but there's a costume contest for each one. And the best basically gets a prize. I don't know what the prize is exactly, but there was 3 categories. There was like a kid category, there was an adult category, and then there was a couples category. And they're all just really fun to watch and see. Now, unfortunately, I have a lot more gripes than I do positives, and I don't know if it's because I expected more of it, or I was just kind of let down. So I kind of wanted to talk about that with you all. What I found was interesting was that a lot of these games were actually sometimes, for example, when I mentioned God of War, those are the oldest versions of the current series. So there was no current God of War games, God of War, the one for the PS4, and Ragnarok, just totally not here. But there was a God of War presentation for 1, 2, and 3, which I thought was interesting. Another thing with this, though, is that nothing in the last 9 years of games was even touched in this presentation. I'm talking about all the games are from 9 years below. So just know that if you're going to come here maybe expecting your favorite modern game franchise, you might not even see it here. Like I mentioned before, too, the main headliners for the ads not being, a large part of the presentation was kind of sad for me, because it specifically talked about, Final Fantasy, Castlevania, and they did happen during the show, but just not as often as I would have liked. I'm a big Kingdom Hearts fan, thus this Kingdom Hearts Orchestra CD that I got, I think is one of the best Kingdom Hearts albums out there. The only song from Kingdom Hearts was that main theme that plays before you actually get to the title screen in Kingdom Hearts. I'm not saying there's no like battle music, there's no really cool themes. There's a lot of great music in Kingdom Hearts, but they only kind of chose one that was from the first game, and it was just kind of like okay. Like I enjoy it, I really do still, but I just expected more. And then instead of, I guess in the past they had Kingdom Hearts scenes where like they usually play the scene of the video game on the screen itself while it's playing the music. Well, for this specific concert, I guess they replaced all of the in-game characters and cutscenes for actually animated scenes from all the Disney movies, and I kind of didn't like that because I'm here to watch a video game music show, not to watch Disney movies. So I was kind of sad not seeing Sora on the screen up there. Again, it's really cool to see all the other games that are up there and get them represented in that way, but I just kind of felt let down with that. One thing about all of this, there is no Nintendo music at all. I think it's just because Nintendo doesn't license out any of their music that often. I know that they've done that anniversary, Zelda concert orchestra when Skyward Sword came out, but there's no Nintendo representation at all besides that like weird little Donkey Kong clip or whatever. And that was really sad because I saw a lot of people wearing like Nintendo shirts, Nintendo outfits, and I think they were expecting something because Nintendo is such a huge part of the video game industry. And for some reason, there was just none in there, like 0%. I would have loved to hear some of my favorite video game, Majora's Mask, some themes from that. That would have been awesome, but no, nada. Absolutely not. And a lot of these series were not really known for their music. Like, the music wasn't the draw of the game. There would be, like I said, maybe Uncharted or Warcraft and things like that. And they probably have good scores in and of themselves, but like none of the music really stood out to me like this needs to be in a concert. I mean, there was no Mega Man music. Castlevania was there, but it was more in like a medley, which is fine, But I'm talking, no, there's barely any Capcom, any of that stuff. And I was just expecting a lot more hardcore video game music in general. And it's not necessarily just music that I like. It's just music that I know that is good from a lot of different franchises. For example, Mass Effect was in there. Besides that kind of cool theme from Mass Effect 2 where you're kind of selecting the world and stuff, I didn't really feel like that game needed to be played live. I feel like it needed to be substituted for something else that actually sounded a lot cooler. Some footage, too, was not great HD footage, and this specifically was something I did not like. I mean, a lot of the times there was, but for example, Shadow of the Colossus, it looked like they were using PS2 footage for the screen, when they were playing the music. And I was kind of like, this game has a PS4 HD remaster. Like, we need to get updated visuals on this screen. When was the last time this was updated? And again, from that long list I kind of talked about, like the newest game on there was Undertale. And that's not that new anymore. So it's just really strange to me that there was no new kind of games to be shown. And I kind of wish there was, because a lot of people there were young, even younger than me. I'm only 33, but there was a lot of people there that I feel like were way younger, and I think they were expecting maybe something more from what they were playing. And there just wasn't that at all. I understand Video Game Live needs to be kind of a compilation of all these great franchises and video games, but for example, there was just a lot of representation that was kind of overcrowded. For example, Naughty Dog, for example, they had Uncharted and they had The Last of Us. And again, both of those franchises, very revered, but the music, not in my mind. And again, especially those ads for this concert. Final Fantasy was on there. It was in the forefront. And Final Fantasy, say what you want about the series, it has great music. I haven't played a lot of the more recent ones, but I'm talking like PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo, even games like Chrono Trigger or whatever. Like, where are these amazing scores? We got one Final Fantasy song. It's from Final Fantasy VIII. An amazing song, really fun to watch. There was no video on there, but that's fine. It was kind of like a close-up on the orchestra while they were playing. But I wanted more. I wanted way more Final Fantasy music because it is great. I was expecting to watch, for example, the train heist in the very beginning of Final Fantasy VII. The bomb mission. I think that's the name of the track. I was expecting that because that always gives me the chills when I see that in motion, when I hear it. It just is so amazing. But we didn't get that. We just got one song from Final Fantasy. I feel like if you put something in your ad, you need to do way more than just one song. And from a series like Final Fantasy with so much good music, it needed to be there. And I understand maybe the audience wasn't expecting that. You know, the moment when they announced the composer for Final Fantasy, I was like raising my hands and kind of whooping, you know, like, yes, let's watch this, let's do this. And maybe not everybody else was having my same enthusiasm, but like, I wanted more of that. So in conclusion, it's a fun experience, but don't expect any recent franchises, you know, releases or Nintendo music, because it's just not there. And there might be certain more Western studios that are part of this presentation more than others around the world. Maybe it's just because it's in America and that's just the way that we think, but I've just never been that type of audience member from America. I'm really loving just all the different types of games in all the different countries, and I just like to collect them. And I actually have a little playlist, I want to share it with y'all, of the best video game music that I've heard. And you know, it's not all complete, there's definitely ones that aren't in there that I just haven't put in there yet, but you know, I really like video game music. You know, a lot of people may think that video game music just isn't for them or isn't great, but if it's about, you know, maybe the same track being played over and over again or something like that, I mean, that's pop music. That's a lot of songs just do that, famous songs. It's just weird that Nintendo, or rather any video game music, just doesn't get as much cred as it should, because I don't know, it's music. It's all music. So whatever music, no matter where its source is coming from, should be, you know, amazing if you like it. And I'm not hating on, you know, Western franchises of Naughty Dog. I mean, look at, I've got Uncharted 1 and 2 still for the PlayStation 3. I haven't even played these. I played the second one, and I really want to play these. But I feel like stepping away, even from Uncharted 2, it's not like I remember the theme or anything. So again, in conclusion, fun experience, but don't expect any recent franchises from the last 9 years or Nintendo music. If you're okay with that, great. You're going to have a good time. I'd say have fun.